Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the second part of Rio Talk today. I've been talking to a very dear friend of mine, Alijan Haider. We're talking about health inequalities and also inequalities around education. But we've been focusing on his life and his career and the work that he's been has been doing for the last 40 years. As I said, he's been working around challenging inequalities both in the education system and the healthcare system. And he is working at a very senior strategic level around both schools and in health. I could talk to Ali Jan on a number of subjects. I mean, his knowledge and his experience is absolutely vast, and he could enlighten us for many, many hours to come. Unfortunately, I have not got enough time today, but I would love to bring him back and for you to hear some of his knowledge and his experiences and how that has led him to do what he's been doing, particularly as chair of trustees of the Faversham Muslim Girls' School. As I said before we went to the break, it is one of the major Muslim institutions that has become a shining example of an educational establishment in the UK. So Ali Jan, we'll come back to the health issue because that's the vast subject on its own. But the Muslim Girls' School, how did that project start? Why did it start? Who started it? I know you were involved from the beginning.
I was involved later, but...
Oh, were you? I thought you were from the beginning.
There's a saying in English that necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
And at that time, the masjid that I went to, Howard Street, which is called the Muslim Association of Bradford, a number of parents there felt quite concerned that when their daughters reached a certain age, they'd be entering mixed environments for learning and teaching. And there was a real reluctance to allow that for all kinds of strong religious and cultural reasons. And at that time, back in, I think it was 1984, there was an idea to be able to purchase a school and provide some private education with the consent of the local education authority, the LEA. Now, that was a private school. The quality of education was hit and miss. It was in its embryonic phase very early on. And that was a platform, Iqbal. It was community-led. If you like, the pioneers of school were probably, in fact, quite definitely, Maulana Lutfur Rahman, may Allah give him Jannat. He was a very pious guy, very pious Imam Sahib. And Shirazam Lala, who most of you know.
I know, he was a very dear friend of mine.
A team who then rallied around, including Professor Khurshid Khan. And I would argue that he was probably, in fact, arguably, the person who was the catalyst and the push towards helping the school go from its seed to the early stage. And then where I got involved was when we started to have negotiations to be able to build a brand new school. Now the Muslims...
So the school started?
So the school started.
Somewhere else?
It was a school that was it was lukewarm in terms of performance.
Right.
But fast forward, we submitted applications repeatedly to the DFE to be able to get voluntary aided status.
Right.
And thankfully, with David Blunkett supporting us, we managed to get over the line.
Right.
And then the DFE provided us with a brand new school, which we contributed to. But the brand new school, for us, was, if you like, our first base to be able to really excel. Now, Feversham College, when it started to grow as a Muslim girls' school, also helped to light other candles of aspiration for Muslim leaders across the country. And Feversham College, if you like, is the only school where we have an all-female staff. It's the only school in the whole of the UK where we have, by permission, an all-female staff. We have an Islamic ethos, and we have staff who are passionate. We have, and the other characteristic that Feversham has is that we don't choose or we don't filter pupils that come here to be the best. We take from postcodes that are characterised by deprivation. On the indices of deprivation, many of our young Muslim girls that come to our school come from those areas.
The highest areas of deprivation.
The highest areas. And we are in the top 10% for added value.
MashaAllah.
And I suspect we're one of the few schools in the whole of West Yorkshire, mashallah, that have managed to attain outstanding 3 consecutive inspections in a row.
3 times in a row you've received outstanding.
And the latest inspection by the definition of DFE under the new framework, I believe we were one of the first schools to do that.
MashaAllah.
Now the school is an amazing school. We've had visits from Princess Sophie, and when Princess Sophie came to our school, she was so kind and considerate, because we have a policy that during school time, it's an all-female Islamic environment, and Princess Sophie came with female bodyguards.
Wow.
She honoured the value of our school by bringing female bodyguards. It was an amazing visit, and our teachers and our pupils, that's something for them that will be there in their memory book. And then we had David Cameron, we had Sayyid Awasi. We have had so many VIPs come to Feversham and gone away overwhelmed with the amount of creativity that's there.
I mean, I did you a disservice by calling it Faversham School. It's actually Faversham College.
Yes,
how many students do you have there?
So we have approximately 500 students there.
500 Muslim girls,
yeah,
mashallah, or women.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. That's quite a substantial amount.
And you know, one of our ambitions, we have an amazing board. So I don't think any one person can say the school thrives or excels or inspires others because of one person. Our board is made up of professors. We've got about 4 professors on our board.
Subhanallah.
So you can imagine we're Professor Rich.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm not
I mean, you mentioned a number of names. Maulana Sahib, may Allah give him the highest place in Jannah. Sher Azam Sahib, you know, I have the highest respect, and I've been wanting Sher Azam Sahib to come on my program. He has been on my program once before, because I see him as one of the most important leading lights of the Muslim community in this country. But was Akram Khan Chima around in those days as well?
Akram Khan Chima Sahib was definitely involved in the gestation phase of the Muslim Girls' School.
Because he was working in Bradford Education.
He was a great guy. He's got amazing insight into the way the education system works. He was a pillar of support, and we have a lot of respect for him.
Oh, mashallah, I've got a lot of respect for him as well. You know, obviously, I know he was one of the at the forefronts of some of the changes that took place in the educational system when it came to the Muslim community as well. So, you know, I've not seen Akram Khan Chima Sahib for quite a while. If he's watching this program, or if anybody's watching this program that knows him, please pass on our best regards. May Allah keep him well and safe. And, you know, we are grateful to him for all the work that he's done around education in the Muslim community. So inshallah, I'd love to invite him on this program. So if he's watching, if he wants to come on the program, please contact me, and I'll bring you together with Ali Jan as well, and Sher Azam Sahib, if I can. That will be a real trio to have. So
if I can also embellish, so we have Feversham College. We also know Bronte Girls Academy.
Right.
That's a brand new school virtually.
Right.
Again, that's a free school that's been given to us by the DFE. And
when you say given to us by the DFE?
Well, given to us, it's been sponsored by DFE, so basically it's a mainstream school.
That's right.
And in the Multi-Academy Trust, we now call ourselves IXL Multi-Academy Trust. We've transitioned away from Feversham Education Trust to IXL.
Right.
And there's a logic for that. The logic is that we are the IXL family, underneath which...
What does IXL stand for?
So IXL is just a brand name.
Right, okay.
It's a brand name that within it espouses the need for people to excel.
Oh, so it's IXL, right.
Absolutely.
Now it makes sense to me, yeah.
So in IXL, the family, we have Feversham College, Bronte Girls Academy, we also have IQRA.
IQRA.
But if there's one thing I would want to get, wanted to get across, it's about the importance of education.
Absolutely.
And I still feel that the Muslim community undervalues the crucial nature of education. And we tend to simply drop our kids off at school, and we think that between the hours of 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock, the teachers can work wonders, play magic, and suddenly, you know, hallelujah, our kids will be amazingly successful in exams. My one word I want to get across is parents and families are crucial in that relationship to support children to be able to do well.
Right.
You know, there's a saying, I think, in in Islamic tradition, believe in Allah, but tie your camel.
Yes.
And we don't tie our camel. We tend to
we delegate our responsibility.
We tend to expect other people to tie a camel for us. And that doesn't just apply to education. There's something about responsibility. We have rights, but we also have responsibilities. And in Bradford, certainly that's where I live, but I travel nationally. Increasingly, you know, my one message, if I could get across strongly, is yes, we have rights, but we have responsibilities as well. And for our children, if we can support them, the mentoring, the coaching, that level of encouragement, it goes a long
Do
way.
you feel that parents don't have the necessary confidence or the skills or the ability because they've not gone through maybe the full education system? Although now that should not be the excuse, because now in the fourth generation, in some cases, or fifth generation.
It's
So
it's
all the parents would have been born in this country, would have gone through the education system in this country, so they'll be aware of how the procedure works.
yeah.
But do you think that the family units, we have this issue about parents in the home with the kids, and the kids are on mobile phones, the parents are on the mobile phones, there's little communication going on between the parents and the children.
So my assessment is that our parents, again, are not homogenous. We have a heterogeneous group of parents. We have some parents who are really concerned about their children's education. They will speak to us, they will chase us, they will make sure that they know exactly where their child is on that flight path to doing well. And I now see many young people at university. I mean, alhamdulillah, if you look at our younger generation, we have graduates now across the spectrum.
Yes.
And we are, if you look at the whole response to Gaza, we have a number of very able, articulate, confident and robust people, young people, being able to argue quite rationally what their thoughts are. So I think school definitely, but there are some parents still. There's a sizable chunk of parents who still don't have that level of commitment and the passion to be able to drive their children to do well in school or to do well in their education. Now there could be it could be multifactorial. Poverty plays a key part.
Oh, definitely.
Many of our housing that children live in is, you could say,
the social environment.
yeah, poor standard. Yeah. And then role models. We still have an absence of good role models that can inspire young people, that can stimulate the confidence.
Can I come back to that? Because I mean, this is a discussion and debate I've had before with a number of people. That if we look at Bradford as an example, mashallah, we have been blessed by Allah in the number of Muslim businesses and individuals who thrived in establishing and setting up businesses. My Lahore, for example, is one of them. Yeah. The guys who run My Lahore are an absolute model of what should be done. I also mentioned Agra in the past. Agra, I mean, very dear friends of mine, and as of last week, Agra has completely changed their model of working. They've taken out all alcohol, right? So I was really happy to go there last week because it's an alcohol-free zone, and I congratulate the people of Agra for doing that. And the revival of Islam actually is taking place to a certain extent, but are we really capturing the thirst that young people have, in our mosque and our community centres, to bring them into bring the real knowledge of Islam to our young people?
So first of all, I agree about My Lahore. My Lahore is the iPhone of restaurants.
Oh, definitely.
They're amazing, and their value base and the way that they hold themselves is remarkable. In terms of masjids and community centres, and are they able to provide that level of stimulation for young people? I would argue at the moment not. I've not seen any masjids myself who have been able to provide a level of inspiration to young people so they do better at school. In fact, I think Bradford's an interesting testbed where behaviours of Muslim boys in particular, and maybe Muslim girls, certainly needs some level of support, some level of coaching, so that it's not just about Islam, it's also about disaffection. It's about the impact it has on the total community. When a Muslim, if you look at driving, if you look at drugs, it's not only exclusive to Muslims.
Oh yes.
But then you ask the question, what's our response? What's the vision for the masjids for Muslims over the next 3 years, so we can start to tackle some of these ill behaviours? Because those ill behaviours don't only impact on wider society, they impact on their families, their neighbourhoods and their communities.
Oh, the whole community.
And that's why I go back to my point. We believe in Allah, but we're not tying our camel.
Not tying a camel.
And I really feel that we need a good analysis of the issues that affect Muslims in Bradford, maybe wider, over the next 3 to 5 years. Health and well-being, definitely. So we know there are certain illnesses which are more prevalent amongst Pakistani and Bangladeshi Muslims in particular. We look at cardiovascular, we look at diabetes, we look at COPD. And the exam question has to be about self-care. how can I improve my well-being? What responsibility do I take for my well-being? Is it my diet? Is it my exercise? Is it the environment I'm living in? And what responsibility, what impact can I have that makes me more wholesome? So that's one part. Masjids, you know, and I've met with some ulama, and maybe it's a conversation for some other program. And my test with, the litmus test with the imams that I met with was, how do you address some of the concerns that we see on the streets of Bradford with our youth? And I did not come away with a coherent or a compelling case where I thought, yes, if we do this, it's going to make a difference.
Do you think that the ulama, not just the ulama, but some of our more senior influencers, community leaders may be a very strong word, because I don't think that currency applies to a certain extent, but some of the more influences that we have in our communities ever think about some of these issues, apart from people like yourself and others? You know, how do we make a cohesive argument for people in a position where they can make a difference to the communities, like the businesses, like the role models that we have, right? Because I agree with you, some of the behavior and the practices of our young people is having a very negative effect, not just on families, but the local community as well as the wider community as well. So what do you think can be done? Who needs to take the first step to try and change this narrative?
So masjids and madaris do an amazing job in being able to teach children the basics of Islam.
Yeah.
So how to read the Quran, the Qaida, your Salah, and recitation, and in some masjids, some of the interpretation. What we don't have is an impact assessment. So we have no measure of our adolescents when they go from, say, 13 to 19, 20 to understand their behavior and how it's been affected. And what can we do to try and rescue what seems to be a growing cohort of young people moving towards disaffection? Now, we can't generalize. What we can do is we can hypothesize. And at the moment, the hypothesis is that despite, there's a saying in Urdu, I think, the more I applied the medicine, the worse the illness became. Right. It's an adage. And my fear is that the more the masjids apply the medicine at the moment, the worse the illness is becoming, because the masjids cannot be the only place that do that. Parents and families must take responsibility. And, you know, once upon a time when I was growing up, my parents were very clear what the boundaries were. The prohibited and the permissible. And they were never dictatorial, they were not crude, but we knew from their emotional body language that this is right and this is wrong. And I hazard a guess that some of that, not discipline in its harsh form, but some of those conversations about what's right and what's wrong, and also what responsibilities do we have as citizens towards other people. I remember when I was at school, we used to go during Easter taking fruit to the local nursing homes.
Right.
And that transcended religion. It happened because it was the right thing to do. And there was for me, there's something, our 5 pillars are fundamental. But something which is above the 5 pillars is etiquette, ikhlaq.
Yes.
You can do your namaz, you can do your fasting, you can do your hajj, you can do everything. But if your demeanor is a type where people are repelled by you, then your worship and your devotion is only for you. How do you empower others to be good? That's what we need more of. We need conversations, open dialogue with our young people to understand the world from their perspective. No child deliberately wants to go and do drugs. No child deliberately wants to go and drive in a way which is erratic and endangers other children. There's always antecedents that, if you like, precipitate the behavior, and the consequence is what we see.
I mean, this is a discussion, debate we've had before on my program on a number of occasions about people's akhlaqs, you know, because that is, as Ali Jan quite rightly says, if my audience remember, we had the main imam of the masjid in Doha in Qatar, and when I asked him, it was the first time he'd come to the north of England, He's seen the state of our country around here in the north as well. And I asked him a question about what is important in his view as Muslims we should be doing. And his immediate answer was, your akhlaq is the most important thing for you in a country that you're living in. Because you can pray all your namaz, as Ali Jan says, you can do hundreds of hajjis if you're capable of doing that, give all the sadaqah, etc., etc. But if your akhlaq is no good, then nothing will count for you in the akhirah. And it's important that we make sure our akhlaqs are absolutely the best. I mean, that is very important. I agree with you. Go on.
You touched on COVID.
Yep.
Now, COVID is a wake-up call.
Definitely.
It's a wake-up call for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We saw COVID attack those individuals who had multi-morbidities. So they had, say, diabetes, they had some cardiovascular or maybe COPD. And if there's one lesson we all take from COVID, it's about the self-care.
Self-care.
It's about not exercise. If you can't exercise, at least walk. Look at your diet and try and find some ways to have conversations with those that are much more clever than I am around health and well-being. I'm not a doctor and I'm not here on behalf of the NHS, but have conversations with those that can give you that level of confidence to improve your well-being.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I mean, that is a vast area of discussions that Ali Jan and I could have, and I hope you would enjoy listening to what Ali Jan is saying. No doubt you will. Inshallah, Ali Jan, now that you've broken the mold and the ice, you've come here. I hope you found that the experience is quite an enlightening, hopefully a good one, and it's not a negative. I think you might have fear that I might be Jeremy Paxman, but there's no way I can be that like that. Ali Jan, thank you for coming. May Allah bless you for all the work that you've done. Would love to cover everything, but the schools he mentioned, Faversham College and the Bronte Girls Academy are an example of some of the work he's been doing. May Allah bless him and his colleagues for all the work that they've been doing and give them even more strength to continue to do so. Take care. I'll see you next week. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah be with you and protect you all. Inshallah, I'll see you next week.